Hey y'all, it's Celt, and there's a new report that came out about the voting in California during the midterm elections. And of course, the conservatives have something to say about it. So let's roll tape.
Did you know that California sent out 22.5 million ballots for the midterm elections, and as of right now, 10.8 million are unaccounted for? And what do you think's going to happen? Nothing. Gotta love these mail-in ballots. So progressive.
So unaccounted for is an interesting way of saying were not used, because that's what happened with the 10 million ballots that people are saying are unaccounted for. It's just that 10 million ballots were not used, meaning not everyone voted, which is actually pretty normal. But of course, that doesn't sound as interesting as the propaganda of we're not able to account for 10 million ballots. So for those of you who don't know, California mailed out a ballot to every registered voter in the state, and that's roughly 22 million ballots. Now, this means that every registered voter in California could come in person to a polling location, or they could simply fill out the ballot and mail it back in and have that count as their vote. If for some reason they did not receive the ballot in the mail, there is a procedure that they could go through to still be able to vote. If they wanted to vote by mail and there was enough time, they could request a replacement ballot be mailed out to them again, and then they could complete that vote by mail. Or they could show up to a polling location, get another ballot, and then be able to cast their vote in person. But those pesky facts get in the way of conservatives attempting to demonize vote by mail, especially the pesky little fact that the report that video is referencing even states that it is safe to assume that the ballots were either just ignored or thrown out, meaning the people who received them decided not to vote. And seeing as we never have 100% voter turnout in any area of this country, that is pretty normal. For example, most voter turnout, depending on the election in the area, is somewhere between 40 to 60% of registered voters. 12 million votes out of 22 million registered voters is between the 50 and 60% mark, so that's on par for the national average. But none of that is scary, and none of that is something that conservatives can use to create their propaganda. So we change the wording. We start using words like unaccounted for, because that sounds scarier than didn't vote, ignored, thrown away. Because if you want to see if this is something you should actually be worried about, look to see what the negative effects of 10 million thrown away ballots would be. And other than 10 million additional pieces of paper in a landfill, there isn't any negative effects of 10 million unaccounted for ballots in an election that's already over. When you weigh the evidence, including the evidence in their own sources, their claims just start to fall apart.